Shalom Aleichem Rabotai, this is Rabbi Kovacs. It is Monday, March 14th, and Yud Aleph Adar Sheni. We are finishing up the 5th chapter of Demai today and beginning the 6th. The theme in the 5th chapter, the 5th parak, has been you can't take tithes from something that's only chayav d'Rabbanan on something that's chayav d'Oraisa. And what happens if you did? Yesterday we had the case of the holy flower pot, the Atzitz Nakuv, which is chayav d'Oraisa, to take tithes on that produce. And we talked about if you took instead from a unholy flower pot, a flower pot without a hole that joins it to the ground halachically. We have a similar case now in Yud Aleph, Mishnah 11, Taram mina Demai ala Demai. This is a little different because Demai itself, it's a suffix if you need to take the tithes. And that's why we have this rabbinic enactment that you have to go back and take out the Trumas Meiser and then keep the Meiser Sheni and the Meiser Rishon. But you did have to take that Trumas Meiser from the Demai because it's Da-mai, which is Aramaic for what's this? Because you don't know if the Amaretz you purchased from took the tithes. Now, they had gone out. So remember, Yochanan, Kohen Gadol had gone out and sent messengers, and they saw that most of the Amaretz took the tithes, but not everybody. So it was a rabbinical enactment by Yochanan, Kohen Gadol, that you had to go and take this Trumas Meiser out. So each pile of Demai you bought from a different Amaretz, it's a suffix if that's chayiv or not. So if you took from one pile of Demai onto another pile of Demai, now you have a problem because one of those piles might have been obligated deraisa to take tithes because the Amaretz didn't, but the other one, he might have taken the tithes. And you don't know. You don't know which one's which. It could be they were both tithes, or they were both untithed, or one is, one isn't. So the Mishnah continues a similar case. You took the tithes midamai from a pile of Demai al vadai to fulfill the obligation of tithes on vadai. That's produce that really deraisa needs to be tithed. That you know you grew it yourself or you bought it from someone who told you. You know it has to be tithed. So truma, it is truma in the sense that since you called it truma, you have to give it to a Kohen. V'yachazor v'yitrom, but you have to go back and take truma from the second pile also. So if you took from one pile of Demai to exempt a different one, you have to go back and take truma from that second pile as well. The Mishnah continues, mina vadai ala Demai. You separated tithes from a pile of produce that really needed them on a d'oraisa level, on a Demai, which is a suffix. It's truma in the sense that you've called it truma and you have to give it to the Kohen now to eat it. V'lo ta'achel, but that Kohen can't eat it yet. Ad sheyotzi alecha trumot d'oraisa, until that Kohen takes from it trumot d'oraisa, because it might be tevel. Because if this Demai that you were trying to exempt, the Amaretz had actually taken out all the tithes first, then it was exempt, and instead of pulling out tithes, which are putter in further tithing, because they are Truma Meiser, now you're giving the Kohen Tevel. You're giving him just a pile of produce that really didn't need to take tithes. So the Kohen, before he eats it, he has to go ahead and take tithes. So we see in the 5th parak, wrapping up this theme, that there are issues taking from something that's a suffix onto something that's a vadai, and vice versa. So now we're beginning the 6th parak, and the first half of the 6th parak covers issues of if one person is renting or leasing or sharecropping land that belongs to somebody else. So hamakabel sadeh mi Yisrael mina oved kochavi mina kutzi. So the Mishnah begins, somebody accepts, and this word makabel usually means in schirus. Schirus is sharecropping. And the Mefarshim explain he's going to take half for himself and give the other half to the landowner, or he's going to take a third and give him 2/3, or vice versa. There is a percentage arrangement that whatever grows in this field, the worker who's actually on the field gets a percentage, and the landowner gets the other percentage. So if he is doing a sharecropping arrangement, whether it's land of a Jew or a non-Jew or a Kuti, which we talked about yesterday, these Kuthians, these not-so-good Good Samaritans that were a suffix for a while if their conversion was valid, and eventually they found out they were still doing Avodah Zarah, and they said these guys are not Gishmak Jews, and they didn't have the halacha of suffix anymore after that. But this is during the period when they're still suffix about Jews. So what's the din? What does he do? Yechalek lifnehem. He divides, they each get their percentage in front of them. They take it to the threshing floor, and they divide the produce. He says, you get your half, I get my half. And he doesn't have to take the tithes. So he doesn't have to remove tithes from this. And the Mefarshim explained the idea is the Rabbanan did not extend, we saw earlier, normally you have to take tithes from anything that you sell or you give as a gift, or even if you leave it for people to pick it up, you have to take tithes. Here we didn't say you have to take tithes. Why? So that more people would want to sharecrop the land So even if he didn't own the land of Yisrael wouldn't lay fallow. It wouldn't be empty and unused. So even if a non-Jew owns the land, and it's better if Jews own the land, we learned in Hilchot Shabbat, you could even tell a non-Jew to write up a deed of sale on Shabbos to buy land in Eretz Yisrael. That's how important it is. But even if a Jew doesn't own the land, even if a non-Jew owns the land, it's important that the land in Israel is worked and is productive and is improving. Something the early Zionists worked very hard to do, and even if they didn't always own the land, they were making the land blossom again. So the idea is we don't want to make the sharecropper who's there working the land have to take tithes and take that small percentage of a loss. We want him to be as profitable as possible, so the land will not be vacant and fallow. So he just divides the crops between him and the landowner. He just leaves it on the threshing floor and let the landowner, be he Jew or non-Jew alike, let him take the tithes. The sharecropper who's doing the work doesn't have to. The next case in the Mishnah is Chocher Sadeh Misrael. Now, Chocher is a renter. He's paying a fixed amount of rent. It's not a percentage like an aris, like a sharecropper. He says he's going to give you such and such. He's going to give to the landowner each season. And even if the land doesn't produce enough, he's got to pay that rent from somewhere else, as we're going to see. So, Chocher Sadeh Yisrael, he's renting land to work from a Jew. Torem v'noten lo. Whatever he's giving him as a rent, he has to take the truma first. Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, Matai, when does he have to take just the truma? Bizman shenatan lo me'osa sadeh me'osa min. When he's renting out a field to grow winter wheat. And he grows winter wheat there, and then he pays the rent from that winter wheat that he grew. So then he just takes the truma, and not any meiser risha, not any meiser sheni, not trumas meiser, not anything else. Aval, Rabbi Yehuda continues, Aval im natan lo misadi acheres. If he's paying the rent from a different field, like for example, the field he rented didn't produce enough, or he decided he wanted to keep that and pays rent for something else, omi min acher, or if he grew a different crop, he grew barley instead of wheat on that particular field, meiser v'noten lo. Since he's sort of changing the deal, it's sort of the implied conditions of the deal are, I'm going to pay the rent from the wheat I grow on this field, and now he's paying from barley from that field, or he's paying from produce from a different field. So he has to take not only the truma, but the meiser as well. Shkoyach, Rabbi Osai will continue in the 6th parak tomorrow.